Hello, I am Nimja, and this is Nimja Live, October 2023, with the theme Creepy Castle. Hello everyone. Before I begin, as always, I'd like to thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'd like to thank all my patrons for continuing to donate and support me. And I'd like to thank everyone for the random messages, comments, suggestions, emails, and other ways in which you support and, well, continue to help me develop the channel. As always, the live will be structured in a certain way. First, we will have the introduction, which is happening right now. Then at about 1:15, we will start the trance. And after the trance, there will be a time for Q&A. Now, before I begin with discussing the theme, there is a bit of news about the next live in November. This would normally happen November 5th, but as things are looking now, I will have to cancel that live, so that live will not happen. On the website, on hypno.nimja.com/live, you can always see what the status of the current and future lives. I'm still figuring out what to do with that one, but we will figure it out, I'm sure. For now, it is likely that I will not do that one. I will simply skip it, because there will be a live light later in November for patrons. Anyway, the next part is to discuss the theme. Now, normally I ask you guys if you have ideas. However, today, I don't think I'll be rescheduling. Probably it'll be no live, because that month is already very full, and moving it forward is not really an option either. Oh, also, I'm actually wrong. The live light is later this month, in 2 weeks. And it will be Live 88, but Live 88 will happen in December. And I'm sure I'll have a good way of celebrating it. I'm sure we can do something fun with Infinity in December. The end of year live tends to be quite interesting most of the time anyway. Now, for anyone familiar or unfamiliar with the lives, today counts as a gentle live. Even though it is the spooky month, it will be a safe for all ages session. So while the castle may be creepy, it will not venture into any, well, inappropriate directions. And I'm sure you all love Spooky Month. I'm quite sure that you will enjoy a few things that I may or may not have planned. Moving on. So for the theme Creepy Castle, like I said, I'd like to do something a little different compared to what I do before, what I do usually. And that is to basically make it a story, an adventure, if you will. So let's begin at the beginning. Where, or rather, how did you get into the castle? And for anyone unaware, your suggestions are what create the story. So feel free to just speak up and let your voice be heard. Invited to a party. I don't know if, creepy castles regularly send out party invitations. Get lost while hiking. Followed a floating candle. Fall through a mirror, lost in the woods, captured. Lost in the woods would kind of match what happens with Beauty and the Beast. Gets sucked through a wormhole. Is it abandoned? Well, we will figure that out soon enough. Well, considering several people have said it, let's go with lost in the woods. So while we are lost in the woods, and we find this castle, are the lights on or off? What does the castle look like? Does it look completely abandoned, or is someone present? Dim lights on, just a few candles in the window. Off would make it more spooky. On, then suddenly off. That's also a very cute one. Very dim lights. Well, the offs have it. I do like the idea of off with like very dim candles. So just the illusion of possible light. All off except one window. So mostly off lights with maybe one candle. Okay. Now once inside the castle. Oh, that's actually a good idea. An impending storm. So once inside the castle, what do? You are sheltering from the storm. The castle looked mostly abandoned, but with one candle. What do? Knock. No answers, but the door creeps open. Explore, of course. Looking for whoever owns the castle. Walk in timidly. Exploring. Well, one does not simply find a secret staircase. You have to at least pull, like on a torch, or move a thing in front of the fireplace or something. Walk into cobwebs. Find Rocky. I think that's the wrong movie. All right, let's say exploring to search for the owner. What state is the castle in as you explore? Like what state? Let's assume that you have some light because we all have our phone with us and mostly empty, old but not falling apart, old and dirty, dusty, cobwebs but no spiders. Yeah, let's not do spiders. Rough, it hasn't been maintained. Abandoned but kinda well kept. I do like the idea of it being like empty and yet slightly cleaner or better than you would expect an abandoned castle to be. Like maybe dusty, but no animal traces. Whispering. Ooh, I like that. Whispering in the distance. Okay, let's say that we follow the whispering. Where does the whispering lead? Up or down? Why no cobwebs? Up, down, of course. Down, down. The attic, down. A few ups, many downs. I think the downs definitely have it, but what do we find going down? Down to find a coffin? I don't think we'll do Ooh, actually, I'm going to write this down, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Because I think having a few surprises for you will be fun. There we go. It's a good sign. Down into the wine cellar, full of the best magic. And of course, I'm not going to say it out loud. Cheating in Hypno means that it's working. Oh, a glowing orb. A dark room with all kinds of texture. Interesting. Closed and trapped. Not sure if that's a good idea. Are there a bunch of traps? Maybe. A cracked mirror. I like the idea of finding a cracked mirror. Who knows what you see in there? Ooh. I know where the story is going now. Just give me a moment to write this down. Okay. Oh, yes. This will be suitably creepy. I don't think it'll be creepy in a way that is upsetting in the sense of yeah, you know what I mean, I'm sure. Oh, I know. I know the idea of not stopping. And no, a brainwashing chair with straps would not be considered gentle. Okay, it's almost time. Everyone, please prepare yourself. Put your arms and legs inside the ride at all times. Get comfy and cozy with hopefully some form of hydration nearby. And if possible, put on headphones and enjoy yourself. As always, I will switch the chats and my assistant will say, I will put a comment when the trance is over. As always, you are free to join or not join in the trance. It is up to you if you want to participate and how you want to participate. Your mind is your responsibility, please. Take good care of it even when ominous laughter occurs. No, I'm not going to do that in the file because I think it might sound a bit awkward. But it is fun to do. Let's see, everything is ready. All right then. Almost ready. No, there. There we go. That's the one I wanted. I think we're going to have some fun with this one. Hello, I am Nimja, and this is Nimja Live, Creepy Castle. As you may already notice, this is a bit of a dark experience, one that may or may not trap you in a certain state for a while. But don't worry, there will be an escape eventually. Now, if you've ever been hiking through the forest, most of the time it's a very pleasant ordeal, unless you get unlucky. If you're particularly unlucky with the weather, you might find yourself in a position where you need to seek shelter. So, get comfy and listen, because I'm about to tell you a tale, a story that may pull you in a little more than you expect. Leaves rustling. The trees swinging in the wind. Imagine the sound of wind rushing between the trees as clouds are being brought forth. There's a thunder far, far away, a feeling of pressure, humidity in the air that tells a story, a warning of a storm that's slowly moving in. How would you feel walking in the forest, hearing these sounds and noticing a slight flicker of light, of lightning, and another roll of thunder, deep and dark far away? While the idea of walking was very fun, sometimes we walk a little too far from any kind of shelter, and I'm sure that you've been taught that it is a bad idea to stand underneath a tree when lightning strikes. Fortunately for you, through the canopy, through the leaves, between the trees, you notice the shadow of a building. The air, the light is rapidly getting darker. It is sometimes impressive how quickly the light of day can just dim almost in seconds when a storm rolls in. Dark as night. The old building seems to be not that far away, and as you make your way towards it. You notice an old path, allowing your walk to go considerably smoother. And finally, when you arrive in front of it, you notice that it is not just any building, a castle. While not a particularly large castle, it is a castle nonetheless. You weren't aware that there was an old castle here, and it must be abandoned, except in this darkness you see the faintest flicker of light in one of the upper windows. For a moment you wonder if what you're seeing is true, but the first rain is already falling a lot harder than you'd want. Running towards the front door, you already get drenched within seconds. The rain pouring down and the sound of lightning and thunder rapidly closing in. As you run towards the door, you do your best to make it in time, even though you know you are way too drenched already for it to matter. Then again, anything is better than staying in the rain. So you knock on the door, but it simply creaks open on the third knock. As you lean against it, it slowly yields to the pressure. Now imagine for a moment what you'd expect in an abandoned castle. How bad of a state would anything be in? Any fabric simply torn away by time, eaten away, or simply dissolved. Yet the inside of the castle is almost dry, welcome, but also very, very quiet. And while the lightning sometimes allows flashes of visibility, when you close the door to keep the weather out, well, I don't have to tell you how dark it is. Fortunately, like any modern human, you have a very handy device with you that can supply light so easily, don't you? And while there isn't any signal here, that doesn't stop the other functionalities from working. The room you see is surprisingly in good state. Old, but not torn apart. Dusty, but there's something missing, even though you can't quite put your finger on it yet. It's time to explore. Staying still won't do you any good, and if there's anyone here, you'd prefer to tell them yourself rather than be found out. You remember that there was a light upstairs, so you slowly move to the stairwell in front of you. The wood creaks beneath your feet. There's a dust just going from every step, a little puff almost. And your light shows every sparkle of little flakes of dust swirling through your vision. When you focus and you try to walk as quietly as possible, you hear a sound. It's very difficult to hear. You really have to strain yourself to hear a soft whispering. Maybe she could go over here. Perhaps only if she... It takes a while to figure out where it is coming from. Not up, rather down. After a deep sigh, instead of moving up, you move down, and it takes you a while to find a door that leads to a stairwell that goes further down. You weren't surprised that the door was open. How else could you have heard the whispers? Then again, it's kind of strange how you could have heard them. While you are closer now, it doesn't sound like the whispers are any clearer, yet you know for certain that they're coming from this direction. Every time that you wait and listen, there are whispers pulling you further. The more you walk down, following the light, the darkness, you go around a corner, and you end up in a corridor. You're almost surprised at how big the castle is underground. You try to remember if the forest you were walking through had any slopes, but right now you're focused on finding whoever is whispering. As you continue, sometimes you open a door only to turn around and go a different way once the whispers continue. At some point, you are almost certain that you've been there before. In fact, going down another set of stairs, you think that you're back in the hallway, but that should not be possible. You notice wet footsteps on the floor that can only have been left by you, leading to a door that must go outside, but you distinctly remember only going down deeper into the castle. You keep walking, keep following the sounds, the whispers further down. Sometimes it seems to be coming from a different direction, and when you follow that, it does appear to get closer. Then you're finally there. In front of you is a door, and there's light shining underneath the door, the soft flickering of a candle. By now you are so deep inside the castle, so lost that it's almost like you've been here for hours. But you have no idea how long it has really been, and yet some part of you doesn't want to know. The door opens easily. It doesn't creak. In fact, the silence is almost worse. Inside the room there is indeed a candle, an old waxen candle, softly flickering as the storm rages outside. The windows hold the rain at bay, though the sound is very vivid here. There's something else that keeps pulling your attention towards it, but somehow you're unable to properly see it until after you've stepped into the room. Behind the candle is a mirror, a full-length mirror, one of those beautiful old framed mirrors with elaborate decorations around the edge. It's a shame that it's broken, cracks running along the surface and a strange layer of dust all over it. There's something inside, it appears. There's almost more light from inside the mirror than the room itself, but that should not be possible. A layer of dust makes it very difficult to see. When you softly brush the dust from the glass, you see yourself as you'd expect. But there's something wrong. The clothing you're wearing in the mirror is not what you were wearing before. You have no idea exactly what time period it comes from, but you'd expect it in a costume drama from the Middle Ages or something. It is good clothing, just strange. What's even stranger is that it somehow suits you. It fits how you see yourself. Regardless of any stereotypes or opinions of the era, it fits you. For a moment there's a good feeling, a sort of nice, fulfilling sensation of acceptance, until you realize that the reflection is moving slightly different from you. The expression in the mirror changes. First surprised, then a strange kind of neutral. And the more you stare at it, the more you realize that you cannot look away, and they are staring straight at you, as if captivated by something, hypnotized by something. They are staring straight at you. And something in their face changes, a peaceful calm, a blankness, an emptiness that fills them and pulls them down. The castle has a curse. There is a task for those that enter. You have to take care of it. You have to walk around at night, light this candle, and wait for another storm when an unlucky traveler finds their way inside. Until that time, you will become the castle's caretaker. And something else will have to go. For a split moment there is two of you, the one in the mirror and the one standing before it. And strangely, you're not quite sure who is who. You're certain that you can feel yourself standing inside the mirror, looking out through cracks in the surface onto an old version of you in the future. And you can see yourself still in the mirror, wearing clothes that are not yours and yet suit you perfectly well, as if they were made specifically for you. Part of you knows that it is time to leave soon, time to go downstairs or upstairs back to the entrance and leave, never to return. And for a moment you see yourself doing just that. For the first time noticing that you have two perspectives. Your body is slowly walking away, leaving you trapped in the mirror. You look back at yourself in the mirror and you notice the fear in their eyes, the confusion. Are they trapped? You're not allowed to think about it for long. Your body keeps on moving, almost hypnotized. Step by step, you find your way down multiple stairs, back in the big hallway, wet footsteps still on the ground, leading to the door that opens easily. The storm outside has subsided, and you can safely leave. When you look outside the window, you see a silhouette of yourself leaving the castle grounds. When you look down at your body, you can feel the strange fabrics, familiar, old, new. You know that your task has only just begun, and there is no way of knowing how long it will be. Will the other you dream of this? Or will you dream of the other? Who knows what is real and what is a fantasy, where stories lead us and where they've taken us before? Some sensations are difficult to explain, some feelings hard to express. Maybe part of you knows, or maybe it's too far away to remember now. Is it still there, taking care of the castle? Or has it found freedom after someone else got trapped? I don't know if there's a way to find out. At least, that part of you that has returned to your body will wake. Maybe not quite sure of what happened or how, but it will wake. And I hope you enjoyed the story. Be careful sometimes where they can take you, as some of them are less innocent than they appear. Whew. All right. Now give me a moment to switch the chat back. There we go. And let me check if everything is fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's what happens if you give me ideas. You have to be careful with that. Oh, stairwell. Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Where was the other one? Give me a second to check something. That was at 1930. Okay. All right. And yeah, so many cool ideas could come out of stairwell. How long was it? It was 20-ish minutes, 24 minutes. Let me see if there's any. Perfect. Let me check that as well. I wonder if people like the twist. What a twist. I know that I'm not M. Night Shyamalan, but I try to do... And welcome, August. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Choo, 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 choo. think we're almost ready to start the Q&A. I usually check a few things of the recording as they happen. In case anyone is unaware, all of this is unscripted and improvised. So basically, as you are giving suggestions, I come up with the idea, and then I just, tell a story. And often, like when I begin a story, I don't fully know what's happening at the end either. So I did write down the basics of the twist, but I didn't write down like all the details. So the mirror gave me the idea of like seeing yourself different. And yeah. And I am indeed more than an abstract voice, I'd like to think. Hello, I am an abstract voice. You may not think that I'm an abstract voice, but I totally am. Gentle fantasy, it's not an open ending. All right. You completely forgot about your stubbed toe. Holy disassociation, Batman. All right. Now, I think we are ready for the Q&A. Yeah, I'm not sure if this counts as an effect, because it's sort of self-contained within the fantasy. Also, I hope that anyone who knows like middle-age clothing appreciates that I explicitly said that you can dress however you want. So if you're feminine and want to dress in pants, for example, that is totally fine. And whatever combination of gender identity and clothing you prefer is definitely okay. And yes, I'm sorry to sneak in some gender affirmation without any warning. I also kind of like the idea that you never meet the current keeper. So the candle was lit, obviously, but you don't like. Anyway, I liked it as well. So let the Q's begin and the possible A's, perhaps. I make no promises. Melanie Hammers asks, "Hello Nimja, what do you plan to do with my coffin idea? I have several vampire files. I don't know if I will do anything else. Like, I don't have any plans at the moment." And several people, as is tradition, ask, "What did you have for dinner?" Well, I kind of had dinner for lunch and lunch for dinner, except that my dinner could also count as breakfast, depending on how you view that perspective. And While my lunchy dinner and dinnery lunch was kind of classic in one way. One of them consisted of a very roundabout beef sandwich, which will make at least one person here smile. And the other is just something with a bit of pizzazz. And no, this is not a confusion induction, it's just me being prepared for that question, actually having thought about it before. Oh, several people are asking, like, what are you going to be at Halloween, or how do you plan to dress? Zia and let Mixels live, I think. I currently do not have any plans. I mean, my meals definitely counted as food. Jezebel asks, are you doing spooky files for October this year? Yeah, I'd like to think that I'm planning some spookiness, but also some nice autumnness. It is the season to fall, after all. No, I'm not going to do an October art contest. I have not had the time, honestly. I might do an art contest later. I did like the Halloween art contest, but I also like keeping things a little fresh. A New Year's art contest. Well, I might have an idea for a very different art contest, and I also don't like the idea of doing too much too close together. And Jezebel asks, anything as terrifying as Hunted? I don't know yet. J. Foxfish asks, what is your favorite fall season smell? Clean air after rain. Annelies asks, what is your favorite thing about fall? The cooler air. The season to fall and stub your toe. Fauna asks, have you ever participated in Inktober or something similar? I have not. I am generally already too busy to participate in NaNoWriMo or Inktober or anything like that. It's not like I have a shortage of things that I create. I really don't need more stimulation for more things to create. Moose asks, what is your favorite thing about falling over? Catching them and putting them somewhere soft. Katrina asks, is no background music traditional in Nimja live trances? Because there was no music, but that made it creepier. I usually don't mix in any sound while I'm doing a live. Zia asks, do the Dutch have Beer Bash Oktoberfest? I am fairly certain there's Oktoberfest. I personally don't really drink much alcohol. Let me see. There is so far a lack of question marks. There we go. All of that is good. Oh, to be roughly shoved into something soft. Mastermind asks, you record your files ahead, but how do you choose the one that you will upload? It goes automatically in the order you record it. I can schedule content. Most of the time, I record it in the order that I will release it, but when I record it, I know what kind of file I'm going to record. Sometimes I do record out of order, but it's not that common. Katie asks, how many people do you congratulate on someone's birthday? That depends on the birthday. West Lake Angel asks, when was the last time you did an in-person hypnosis? I don't know if today would count. Otherwise, possibly yesterday. Katrine asks, how loud/sharply can you snap your fingers? I'm an auditory and visual learner. So let me see. Here's my hands. Here's my hand off screen. Is that mean or not mean? Here's my hand on screen. And I can probably snap even sharper, but I also have the microphone to consider. She asks, what is your favorite autumn color of changing leaves? Are they changing now in the Netherlands? They should. There's a very nice red color that some leaves get. It's really awesome. The line between teasing and trancing is a gradient. So it's a blurred lines. Moose asks, what is the hardest you've ever blushed? I think on stream is probably the pancake comment. I'm trying to remember if there's any times I've blushed significantly. I tend to not blush very easily unless there's a motivation for blushing, and during a live stream there's a higher likelihood of me actually blushing because there's people explicitly watching me. For example, making a mistake at work doesn't or make me blush, or tripping somewhere. Annelies asks, what is the best hot drink to put stroopwafel on? A drink with a cup small enough to support the stroopwafel. Thin enough. She asks, do you like harvest festivals? What are they like in the Netherlands? Harvest festivals would... there are a few, and I don't know if they are in this area, but... some of them have really awesome bonfires, and they tend to be really nice. Zia asks, would you like to be a knight with a great castle? Only if it comes with a lot of modern amenities, because I don't think I'd like to live in a building that is very drafty and not very suited for the weather here. Night Nimja does work very well. Jezebel asks, what is your favorite holiday? I am not sure. Father Johnson asks, favorite horror movie? Ooh, that's a difficult one. I think Cabin in the Woods is a really good example of a horror movie done well. Unfortunately, it only works if you know a lot of the other movies that it kind of leans on. August asks, how diversified is your content? Are you only on YouTube and your site, or are you on lots of platforms? The site contains everything. YouTube contains about half the things, so the site has every trend. Annelies asks, is there trick-or-treating in the Netherlands? Not much. Moose asks, playing any horror games this month? No, but I did dip my toes in Shadows of Doubt, which is not a horror game, but it is a nicely dark game. Angelic Dirt asks, what is something that actually scares you? There's many things that scare me, but there's very few things that scare me in a I can't do anything about it way. For example, I find lightning fascinating and beautiful. However, I am not going to, dance in an empty field during a storm, because being hit by lightning seems like a very bad time. Similarly, I am not afraid of heights, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be careless around the edge of a building or the edge of a cliff. So, I'm not sure how to answer that question better. I am bisexual asks, do you get annoyed when someone can't follow instructions properly? Well, you asked a question with a question mark in the correct grammar, so you are following all instructions perfectly. I only get annoyed if someone doesn't follow instructions after instructions have been explicitly given. I am aware that people don't read and that people, skip looking at explanations and they skip doing the effort of Googling something. However, after I provide them with an answer, I do expect them to actually read the answer. Melanie Hammers asks, have you seen the movie Nightmare Before Christmas? If so, who's your favorite character? I think... the dog is absolutely adorable, but the girl is probably my favorite character. It's also the one with the more interesting story. Well, Jack is, of course, very interesting, but yeah, I think the girl is more interesting. Katrine says, since it's a spooky month, a file where we go trick-or-treating, but in every house there's a hypnotist with a different induction. There is already a file called Playfully Passed Around. And Jezebel says, I support you choosing not to be struck by lightning or fall off a cliff. Yeah, thank you. I would also prefer to staying alive. Locked Ness Monster. Mastermind asks, do you open tabs in your browser until you can't see their text or icons anymore? I actually keep both my desktop and my work environment and my browsers fairly clean. Very sometimes I have a lot of tabs, but it's the exception more than the rule. And I only have a lot of tabs open if I'm actively searching or dealing with multiple things. Ooh, this is actually kind of an interesting question. Katie asks, did you have to learn to hypnotize separately in the two languages, English and Dutch, because I do speak both fluently, or did you learn one and the skills kind of carried over? While I would normally just cheekily answer yes, mostly the skills carry over just fine. A lot of the structure and confidence, the insight you get, the part of reading people and understanding the structure of a trance, this all carries over. The thing that does not carry over is the patter. So both languages do have different phrases and different ways of talking that you kind of have to learn. But it's, yeah. I would mostly say that they carry over, but the vocabulary you need to learn some extra vocabulary. Aw. Annelies asks, what does a countdown sound like in Dutch? Well, I can do so without a hypnotic tone, even though that would probably be annoying to some people. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. She asks, do canal freeze over in the Netherlands yet? Today was 23 degrees Celsius in the evening. It is not a cold October yet. Things are not well. Let Mixel Live asks, can you make a hypnosis story based on H.P. Lovecraft stories Call of Cthulhu? I will not make anything on copyrighted material. Moose asks, Moose says, you definitely strike me as someone who clears all their notifications and has minimal tabs open at once. Yes, I like to stay on top of things, and my email inbox is empty. I use a very cool feature called snoozing, which means that emails I need to look at later get hidden from my inbox, and they will reappear at a set time, which is very, very helpful. For example, if you buy flight tickets, you can let the email reappear when you need to check in online. Well, Dutch does not have to sound like baby talk. I was using a different tone of voice explicitly to avoid doing any hypnosis. Als ik gewoon Nederlands praat, dan klinkt het normaal, maar de meeste mensen zullen het niet begrijpen en zal even moeten wachten voordat ze doorhebben dat ik een andere taal aan het praten ben. En tegen die tijd zijn ze gewoon helemaal verward. Als ik het echt gemeen wil doen, dan gebruik ik een toon die hypnotisch is, waarbij je zelf niet weet wat er gezegd wordt. Waarbij je in trance gaat zonder te weten wat er gebeurt. Wake. So, that probably confused a few people. Zia asks, how do you filter out junk mail? Most of that is done for me. And Annelies asks, does Dutch sound cute to you, or is it only because I don't know it yet? Algorithmic asks, how do you manage to make the G in Dutch sound so elegant? I can't do it without sounding like I'm coughing up phlegm. Yeah, so there's different types of G's in Dutch. So to go for a very quick Dutch lesson, you can have a very sharp G. So graag, where it's more sharp. You can go for a softer G, which is used a lot more in the south of the Netherlands. Graag, which is very soft and sweet. You can intentionally not emphasize the G. Graag, where you sort of go in the middle between a normal G and a very soft G. And thus we conclude the Dutch lesson for today. Katrien asks, do you speak European? Let me answer in 4 languages at once. Ja. Unleashed would definitely subscribe to Nimja's Dutch lessons. I am not going to teach anyone a full language. Like, language is complicated and it takes a lot of time to create proper lesson plans. Moose asks, did you notice that you talk with your hands more and bounce around when you're having fun answering a question? Yes. I actually like talking with my hands. When I'm explaining something, if I'm not using a whiteboard to draw something, I usually move around with my hands. It's just that you can't see all the things. Let's see. I can move back a little bit. Let's see if this works. Yay. And I don't know if the yeah would work in more than 4 languages, but I was fairly certain about 4. Unleashed the Fair asks, do you have a hard time talking with your hands tied behind your back? No. If I need to, I can easily let my hands rest. Mastermind asks, do Dutch think and act fast because you are trained to dodge bikes? That is worthy of a paper, I think. I'm sure there's a university that would love investigating that. Katie asks, what do you enjoy programming? People responding without thinking. Melanie asks, does Alice in Wonderland count as copyright too? Complicated. Technically speaking, as long as I keep to the original material, Alice in Wonderland is public domain. However, Disney has put a lot of money into it, and you have to be careful. Moose asks, are your hands resting and our eyes resting mutually exclusive? Not at all. It all depends on where I pull your attention to. Jezebel asks, oh, come on, when was the last time you actually had your hands tied behind your back? I'm thinking it's been a while. Probably has, yes. Angelic Dirt asks, what is your favorite non-hypnotic program? Steam. August asks, how many languages are you fluent in? Speaking, I am fluent in English and Dutch. And programming, I am fluent in at least PHP, Python, JavaScript. I'm trying to think if there's any one that I would consider myself fluent in. I'm capable in quite a few more. Well, yeah, I would say ActionScript, which is not very useful anymore. And I've done a fair bit of C, but like specifically C++, but I don't consider myself fluent in that. And I've done way, way more. Mastermind asks, trick or treat? Yes. Z asks, what is your favorite cookie? Besides the ever-popular stroopwafel, I think bokkenpootjes are a particularly nice cookie. Bokkenpootjes are a particularly nice cookie. And of course, Jess, I know that you were being a smartass, but it's way more fun to answer smartass questions. Because smartass questions usually allow for some very silly answers. Z asks, is Nimja Inc. hiring? Well, there is an interview questions file. Moose asks, not chocolate chip, eh? But chocolate chip cookies are nice. I just, there are more cookies than just chocolate chip. Jay Foxfish asks, do you get to touch grass as often as you'd like to? And what activities do you like to do for that time? Walking. Oh, I forgot about Afrikaans. Good point, I'm bisexual. See, Danish, Dutch, German, Norwegian, I wasn't sure about Norwegian. I knew Swedish has it, so I wanted to say at least 4. And you could probably argue that English people also know what ja means, because they're very good at ja's. I mean, the Finns confuse everyone, I think. Sayana asks, do you like pepernoten around the holidays? Well, I prefer kruidnoten. Katie asks, do you ever feel weird or overwhelmed by the amount of attention or type of attention you get from people as a content creator? Kind of. I would say that I like it a lot when I'm in a good mood for it, because they inspire me, give me ideas, feed in, you get a feedback loop of kink or enjoyment, but it's also harder to get away from. Algorithmic asks, is Afrikaans close enough to Dutch that you could understand it? Kinda. Afrikaans is a really weird mix of multiple languages. There is a fair bit of Dutch in it, so some of it I can definitely understand, but it does require me to pay a lot more attention. And yes, the when I want it is very important. It's also something I had to learn to manage. It's very different between male and female content creators, and I'm simplifying very heavily here, of course. But everyone kind of needs to learn to say no and to take their distance at times. Jezebel says, I think you've gotten very good at setting boundaries. Thank you. I hope I've improved. August asks, why do it? Create content then? Because I've always made content. I just wasn't expecting my content to grow in popularity to this degree. It's just, I like interacting with people. I like being challenged. I like people questioning and commenting and giving feedback, whatever. I would like to think that I have improved over time. It's one of the things that's possibly the weirdest as a creator, as someone that, got accidentally popular on the internet within the little niche that we have. There's a sudden, complete and utter change in the dynamic of people that approach you. As as assigned male at birth and as male presenting, being on the internet has always been I have to be careful, because if I overstep, someone will automatically reject me, because there's already so many assholes on the internet that people are so tired and so frustrated with being approached that, it's difficult to reach out. It's difficult to send the first message. And before, people very hungrily approached me when my work started getting traction, it's mostly just been like kind of accident. And sorry to go on this tangent, but I do think it's kind of important. I think there's a very big difference as a male creator to suddenly be approached by a lot of women and having to learn to deal with that. And I definitely did not deal with that perfectly. Far from it. I think it could have been a lot worse. That's like, I made plenty of mistakes, but I don't think, like, they were things I needed to learn, especially because I didn't have much experience in certain things, in how to reject people and how to be more strict with people. I let my own boundaries be crossed way too often. People that threw themselves at me or projected their their fantasies or kinks onto me. I heavily underestimated how far people trust in a creator based on their work rather than the person. And if I can give any hint both to creators and listeners, is remember that the work is not the person. The Nimja that you trust while listening to a hypnosis session is not me. It's a recording of me. It is a moment you are able to listen to in private whenever you want, however you want. That's not a person. It's a fantasy, an idyllic place. And it took me a long time to understand that the trust people were giving me was not earned. It was something that they gave me based on things that I personally had not done with them. So I've always done my best to be transparent. I did a talk earlier this year? No way. It was earlier this year. Holy flip. In March this year, I did a talk at Hyde, which is an erotic hypnosis conference in Germany, about my mistakes and about making mistakes. And I did a talk about, common mistakes that people make. I've written about that a little bit. I don't think I've ever finished the post that I wanted to make about that, about my personal mistakes in this. And I don't know how to start with it. See, the thing is, because people are watching me, it's very difficult to be open about mistakes, because everything I say is used and reused and rumored upon and gossiped about for completely no reason. I'm just a person. I'm lucky that I get your attention. I'm lucky that I get this stage to be on. But I'm no more special than you. There's so many of you where I know what you're capable of. I know how amazing some of you make art or make content yourself. There's people out there that I consider way better at making evil hypnosis content than myself. And there's people with different like interests that make stuff that surpasses my own easily because they're way more into it than I am. Yeah, I'm sorry for going on this tangent, but in the end, please remember, I am human. I've made mistakes. I've made very stupid mistakes. I've made mistakes out of pride, out of incompetence, out of ignorance. I've made mistakes because I thought I knew better and I definitely didn't. Yeah, the worst mistakes happen when you think you know better. Remember that creators are people and that the work you listen to is not theirs. And please, don't be mad at someone for what they listen to. Everyone is allowed to listen to what they want. If someone likes insert hated band's name here, let them. Don't be mad at them for listening to the thing that you don't like. I think, opinions are opinions. They can have theirs, you can have yours. I guess to finish this weird tangent, if you see people read things, anything of a hateful nature, don't participate. You can show care and understanding. You can show that, people have their opinions. They might be wrong. They might be flat earthers or anti-vaxxers or whatever. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have different opinions. Please be respectful towards one another. If there's anything that you will learn from my mistakes, is to just, be a good person. And I guess that's part of the reason why I write things down, including things that I've done wrong. I hope that a future me will learn, that a future me will get an opportunity to read something that clicks and that helps them to do something better. Some mistakes you have to make. But fortunately, a lot of mistakes we can prevent with education. And that's one thing I'm very grateful for nowadays. There's parts of the hypnosis community that are a lot more positive, that support one another rather than seeing each other as competitors or whatever. We learn together. Because we're all in this together. Even if we're fighting for attention or for time, we're also all in the same kink. We're all wanting to do something nice. And yes, if you really want to like the songs of insert hated band here, you go ahead. Also, everyone has a guilty pleasure. I'm definitely not going to mention Party in the USA. Wait. So, my apologies for that terrible tangent. Also, I wonder if there's a band that's just called Hated Band's Name or something. Oh, there's one thing I want to add. People do bad things. People make mistakes. People do bad acts. That is not the same as being a bad person. Separate acts from persons. It helps. Because people also do good acts. And do good things. We have a band called No Name in Gaelic. Actually, I think the funniest band name would be What Is Their Name Again? And I would now like to call What Is Their Name Again on stage. And yes, very good point, Moose. Watch for responses to bad behavior, or to responses from feedback in general. Speaking of, if I ever do something wrong, if I make a mistake, if you see something wrong on the site, here, whatever, please let me know. It's very difficult to see every mistake that you make. And asking for feedback is a good way to learn. All right. Sorry for the very big tangent. I do have a feeling that a lot of people liked it. And again, my apologies for the gender-affirming language in the file. I'm sure you will forgive me. I will continue to do my best to make inclusive content. Please help. The more you help me understand, the better I can be. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this stage. I often don't think that I deserve it, that I am the right person to stand here. I'm not the most normal person, and I'm glad that people appreciate my content. And I think there's a lot of content out there that also deserves equal attention. Unfortunately, the internet is what the internet is, and we can't fight the evil algorithm. I got lucky, and I hope that luck will be shared with others as well. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, for your engagement, for your time, for your views, for your everything, for your support, for your donations, for your teasing puns on Discord. Thank you. This was Nimja Live.